Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Positive Vibes. I have two of my lovely, I would say angels on here. It's a special edition of Positive Vibes because you know what? This is the time where there's so many people going through so many things. And you know what? They have agreed to come on here with me on today. I'm just doing a little bit of administrative stuff here so that we can make sure that everybody is seeing the broadcast, doing my tagging and all that good stuff. And thank you. So first, I want to say thank God for you ladies being a part of this broadcast on today. I thank God just simply because you didn't have to be here. God could have chose something else for both of you ladies, but you're here. First, I want to start off. I'm going to start with Darlene first. Darlene is, I would say she was the first one I met with it. Then met Darlene. So we're going to do that. And then let's see here. Okay. Darlene, so let's talk about your experience with COVID.
Good morning.
So first of all, let's talk about what were the symptoms that you had at first?
So I initially had what I thought were seasonal allergies, leading into some sort of sinus type of scenario that I've had in previous situations. I had a cough. I had, the runny, stuffy nose, which, ultimately led me to, and I think I had a little bit of a headache as well, but that led me to urgent care.
Mm-hmm.
I finally, woke up Saturday morning feeling probably about 4 o'clock in the morning, feeling so bad. I made the appointment, went in. I was the first patient there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they diagnosed me with having bronchitis. So they gave me antibiotics. They also gave me a stronger cough medicine than what you can get at your local CVS. And I went home. By Tuesday, I felt worse than
Mm-hmm.
Saturday. And so I remember I have a nurse friend that she works for University of Michigan here in Ann Arbor, and she, on the phone, she said, "You don't sound well. I don't like how you sound, and I need you to go and see those little people in the white tents." So at that point, it was, early March,
Mm-hmm.
and COVID was just starting to come to fruition for based upon, what we knew. And they had just started setting up testing sites. A lot of people didn't know where to go. They were, going to the hospital. The hospitals didn't want people to come inside because they didn't know how it was being spread. They didn't know how bad it was, or, so they didn't want that exposure. So they were setting up tents in parking lots, and you
Mm-hmm.
would drive through, and the nurse would you would roll your window down, the nurse would swab your nose and put it in a bag, and off it went to an outside lab. At that point, the hospitals weren't even set up to do their own testing.
Wow.
So I went back home, and they said you should get this within, 36 to 72 hours. Well, because of the fact that there were so many people being tested, it took me almost 13 days to
Wow.
get my test results back. And on that 13th day, I received a phone call from the health department telling me that I had tested positive for COVID and to quarantine from my family. And at that point, I had already been,
Out and about
sleeping
and doing those
out,
things.
well, not out and about. I was actually, here at home, but, I had been in the public.
And that
I'd
was
been
13,
here
like you're talking about in those 13 days in
in
that
those
window of
13
13
days.
days.
Mhm.
Wow.
Correct. So, and I have a 4-year-old. I also have, my son at the time was, in his senior year of high school. And so, my main concern is I don't want to give this to my children.
Mm-hmm.
So, at that point we had isolated, but, I had already exposed them. I couldn't, lay down to go to sleep. So I was actually sleeping for a period of weeks in a recliner because, I could recline a little bit and get enough rest. You know, as soon as I would lay down, the coughing got worse. It never stopped, but it got worse when you lay down. So I attribute part of me being able to recover well
Mm-hmm.
are, hot toddies with lemon. I mean, I went back to the, old fashioned, what does your grandmother tell you when you have a cold? You sweat it out. Well, I sweat it out with a little lemon, tea, and or I'm sorry, lemon honey and a little whiskey, and sweated it out, and you know ate. My taste buds were fine. I did not have a fever. I didn't have your classic symptoms. The only symptom that I had was I had a cough that was so bad I broke blood vessels in my eyes.
Oh
I
my,
would have to hold my temples whenever I would cough. I mean, it was very painful. It was very painful. And now that I'm on the other side of that, I'm just, I feel forever blessed to have survived, to not have given it to my family. Um, it's real. It's very real. People need to take this seriously.
they do. And out of the nine symptoms, you only had two. You only had like two of those, which was the
No.
cough. Yeah, because the nine symptoms, there's fever, cough, headaches, fatigue, muscle and body aches, loss of taste and smell, sore throat, nausea, and diarrhea. And you only had the coughing.
Well, I had the coughing, I had the headache,
Yeah.
and I coughed so hard. Yes, your body aches. Your chest hurts. I mean, the muscles in my back were hurting. I mean, you're coughing so hard, literally your body, like, you can't control it.
Now, when I had talked with Edwina the other day, we were talking about the cough. Now, was it coughing to where it was a constant cough, like it was like every minute or 2 minutes, or every time you tried to breathe, or was it sporadic
For me or Edwina?
for you? I spoke with her. I'm going to ask her the same
Oh,
question.
for me, it was constant, literally constant. And that's actually how I ended up coming home from work, because I went to work and I was just, headset on, on a conference call, and I started coughing and I could not stop. And at that point, everyone was freaked out because they didn't really know what to expect.
Mhm.
And, I mean, and we had an open floor plan. So I'm exposing all of my coworkers, unknowns to me.
Mhm.
But I mean, I could not stop. I coughed all the way home in the car, came
Wow.
home, and, it was like, okay, let me take some more cough medicine. And I know on the bottle it says don't take, more than this dosage in a 24-hour time frame, but you don't care because you don't know what else to do, you
Wow.
know.
Now, after, when you were coughing at work, and I know they have this thing called contact to tracing. For those who have been in contact with you, had anybody contacted you in regarding your coughing, or has any, or have they contacted you saying that? I guess they could because of HIPAA, saying who had it, or or did you know if anybody at work that had contacted COVID from that incident?
No, I don't. And a lot of the people that were in my close proximity were in other areas. So what the company was doing was asking you to self-identify. They had I think it was a website that you would go to for the company and self-identify, and they would, I guess, notify people in that area if you came in contact. I've yet to this day um, to see an email that came to me stating someone in your area has tested positive for COVID. So I know that the people in my general area did not end up having COVID, just
Hmm.
because I was talking to them on a regular basis.
Hmm.
But, the other people, like when would walk to the bathroom trying to control my coughing, without freaking everyone out. Okay,
Hmm.
so whomever walked in that bathroom, we don't know how long it was live in the air, on the
Wow.
surfaces, you know, in my walk to that area. Who did I affect? I don't know. So, and I know, a lot of companies are being a little bit more proactive about,
Hmm.
the measures that they're using to be COVID compliant. But what does that mean? If I'm working
Yeah.
at a company and someone comes in and they have COVID, they leave, you need to notify me.
Absolutely. And also, I want to know now, how has your company, have they been proactive with supporting you, being that you had COVID at home, your family, and things like that? I know you're working from home, but have they been proactive with helping you and calling and making sure you're okay? Do you stand in need of anything right now for you and your family?
No, I mean, I have to be honest with you. My company's been amazing. They've been amazing. I just, you know, My church family has been amazing. We actually had a basket or a little container on the porch, and people would bring over meals, and
Nice.
it it's tough because during the time that I was sick, they were closing the schools, and you were bringing your child home to homeschool. So I have a senior in high school that was homeschooling, a 4-year-old homeschooling, which is very difficult.
Hmm.
And, I'm not in a position to cook dinner. Everything was pretty much on my husband. And where he was working, they actually sent all of them at home. So luckily, for me, I had that, constant person here. And my old sitter came, and she was helping, with all of the, laundry and, those things. But
Hmm.
it's a lot.
Wow.
It's a lot, and I know a lot of other people that I've known that have had it. There's actually one person in particular that I'm thinking about that goes to my church. They had COVID. The whole family had COVID, and his job was pressuring him to, okay, you need to hurry up and come back. Who does
Wow.
that? Who
No,
does
that's just not cool at all.
that?
Not
Hmm.
even considering the fact that he's dealing with this, with this virus, and not only that, he has to, be quarantined away from his family, his loved ones. He can't do the job that he's supposed to do in the household. So that was a lot of pressure on him, just as a
Right.
man.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
Darlene, I'm so glad that you're better, and I pray that all things are going to be cherry. I know it's this Christmas season. Everyone's going to have to social distance, and not be able to love on each other like we are normally loving on each other during Christmas time, and going over grandma's house, and going over kids are going over each other's houses, showing exactly their gifts that they got, and just sharing presents and things like that. It's going to be very difficult. So
Sure.
we're gonna get more Edwina in here from Delaware in here, and then if you guys, if you have any questions for Darlene, you can put them in the comment box, and she'll answer those questions as she sees fit, and we're gonna have a conversation regarding COVID, how we can help people to be more aware of their surroundings, and also to be better, and to not share it with anybody else, even if you just are asymptomatic.
Hmm.
Edwina, you
Absolutely.
ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Yes.
Hi, Edwina. How are you?
I'm doing
So
fantastic.
let's talk about,
Fantastic.
and
Yes.
happy birthday to you.
Well, thank
Let's,
you. Yes, I
Happy
got my
birthday.
let me see, my third COVID-19 notification of being negative on my birthday. So that was the greatest
praise
birthday
God.
present I could have had on my 65th birthday on December the
Yay.
16th. Yes, to God be the glory. And I like to thank Darlene for sharing, and I like to thank you, TrayLou, for providing this forum for us to share information to get it out. And it's our goal just to touch one person, just to touch one
Mhm.
person, and
Amen.
that sometimes that's all we can do. But for me, I
What
need
were
to
your
say
symptoms? What were your symptoms?
my symptoms were I could not take a full deep breath like when I usually would inhale and exhale, I could go way in, but I started noticing I could go but so far, and I was like, I wonder what's that about. And then so it started with the not being able to take a deep breath. Then I would get coughing spells because I do suffer from allergies, and with this coughing spell, it would be sporadic, but it would be for 30 seconds to a minute at a time while I couldn't control it. And I
Hmm.
would have to, cough to the point where I almost like gagged because I couldn't catch my breath and cough at the
Hmm.
same time.
Mhm.
I had the headaches. I had the loss of taste. I had my body felt like a toothache. My whole body felt like a toothache.
Wow.
And there were times of feeling fatigue, going up and down the steps, I would have to stop and pause. So they were my symptoms. Yeah, they were my symptoms.
So, and I understand that there were several of and you contracted it from your grandson. Is that correct?
Yeah, my granddaughter, my granddaughter.
Granddaughter.
Yes,
Granddaughter.
yes.
So how is she doing now?
Well, as a matter of fact, out of 9 members of my family, 6 of us contracted it. And it was by the grace of God that all of us are negative and all of us can breathe and all of us are alive. To God be the glory. Because, like you said, it didn't have to be that way. And
Amen.
so, as a result of, contracting it, I had to go back in my inventory and my locations in my places to backtrack to find out where I'm going to say I contributed to contracting COVID-19. Because in spite of all the media and the information that was being presented, I had that nonchalant attitude that it wasn't going to happen to me. I'm not going to get it. I was very careless. I was rebellious. I mean, I started out being disciplined and whatnot, but in the beginning, that was different because my 6-year-old daughter from 7-year-old granddaughter from Philadelphia was exposed to it in her school back in early November. And she
Wow.
went to her mother's house with her 2 sisters and a grandfather, and she was quarantined. And we thinking that everything is okay, but with a 7-year-old being quarantined, I don't think she was in that room 24/7 for those amount of days. But it didn't come to realization until me and 10, 12 members of our family went to another 8-year-old granddaughter's birthday party on November the 1st. And we went there with our mask on, but when we got in the house, we took our mask off, we interacted, and that following week, nothing happened. Nobody felt anything. And then that weekend, the grandfather of the granddaughter was taken to the hospital and he tested asymptomatic for COVID-19. And so that made all of us, the 8 of us, go Monday, that following Monday, to get tested.
Mhm.
And my daughter and her daughter and youngest daughter went to get tested, and the rest who lived with me got tested. So out of the 6 who got tested, 2 were positive of my grandchildren, the 8-year-old and the 10-year-old. And so we quarantined, we isolated, still not having all the information and the knowledge. And in the beginning, when I had them quarantined, I started, with the mask and the hand washing, but because I had to feed them, get them on virtual, I started laxing. I started not keeping the mask on, and I was in and out their room, which was supposedly being quarantined, right? And so
Wow.
after the 14 days, we all went back to get another test. So 2 different people was tested positive. I was one, and my 10 and my other 8-year-old granddaughter tested positive too. And so again, quarantine, isolation.
Mhm.
After that time was over for Thanksgiving, I let my guard down again. We supposed to be quarantined for 14 days. We only quarantined for 10 because nobody showed any symptoms and whatnot. And again, thinking we okay. After the 14th supposedly day, we go back to get tested. Everybody tested negative except me. I tested positive, and I was like, wow. And it was this past Sunday that the last Sunday that I had a coughing spell and sneezing, no other symptoms. And I talked to my daughter and I said, we need to come get your kids because something's going on. And she said, Mom, you could have had a negative positive, a positive
A
negative
false
test.
negative, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
False
had the
positive.
swab, and she said, "Mom, you need to go and get the one that's more accurate, and that's the nasal." So I went to the Christianity Hospital here. They had a site. They did the test, and I had a conversation with the doctor and asking these questions: how, what, when, where, and can they explain this? And during our conversation, she would say, "Yeah, I know it's confusing. I know it's confusing." And I would say, well, ma'am, if it's confusing to you,
No,
it's got
you
to be
think you felt.
confusing to
Right.
us. And so,
Amazing.
yeah, and so I took the test, and so on my birthday is when I got the notification that I was negative. But if you see
Praise
on the
God
back of
for
my
that.
wall, yes, you see on the back of my wall, I've been doing my podcast from the whole time of journeying with COVID-19.
Mhm.
So the way I look now, honey, the first 3 or 4 or 5 days, I ain't had my teeth in. I didn't have no makeup on. I had nothing, right? Because
Well,
I
you
was
look
just showing.
absolutely fabulous today. You look great. So
Listen,
quick question I have for you, Edwina. Now the granddaughter, the grands, they tested positive and they were at school. Now have the teachers tested positive, and what did they do to inform you guys regarding if the kids caught it at school or were they on the
yes.
bus or
Well,
what did they do?
the one that was in Philly, she was exposed to it at school, and they notified the parents, and they shut the school down. Now, my thinking was if everybody was exposed, I'm thinking everybody should be tested before they go back.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that wasn't my understanding, and that's not what
Mhm.
happened. And so, even though my granddaughter said one day she thought she had a cold, and so not paying
Right.
attention to the slightest little thing, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Thinking, oh, it's just whatever, whatever, whatever,
And
and
Carol was using
here
something.
it is, yeah. And so
Right.
the school notified us, and she was quarantined, and but she went back to school, and they had to wind up closing it down again.
Mhm.
So it was crazy to have them be subjected to that, and they didn't
Absolutely.
identify of any of the staff or the children who it was because of HIPAA.
Mhm.
Wow. So
Wow.
then I know, and I want to send my prayers out to your niece, Helen, who is now fighting COVID, and she has pre-existing conditions. She's in Augusta, Georgia. Does she know? Have you talked to her, or has she been able? Have you been able to talk to her regarding where she thinks she may have caught it at?
Yes, she has been homebound, but she has been in and out of the hospital for months, and
Mhm.
particularly these last 3 months because she has COPD. She's a diabetic. Her sugar gets low and stuff, so she's been in and out the hospital. So she can't say exactly where. Then she
Okay.
has a nurse and an assistant nurse coming in, every day, and then she has two teenage sons who go to school in Augusta, Georgia. They do
Mhm.
the hybrid thing, and one wanted to play football, and but they canceled that. So you have two teenagers in the house, and she going in and out the hospital. She got the aide coming in and out, so she can't really say where she caught it.
Did anybody? Did the her sons? Did any of them test positive?
We don't know yet. We don't know yet, because she was just tested positive last night. She went for a doctor's follow-up, and they said she didn't, well, she said she wasn't feeling that great last couple of days, but she had a doctor's appointment. When she went to the doctor's appointment, they listened to her lungs. They said, you don't sound too good. Let's take a test x-ray. And they compared last week's test with this week's test and said she had some white spots on her lungs, and they said it's pneumonia, and they wanted to take the COVID test. They did the blood work and everything, and about 3 or 4 hours later, it came back positive. So they put her in ICU, and
Definitely praying for her.
that's where
So
she's
then
there
my
now.
question is right now. So she's tested positive for COVID. Her two sons, they don't know yet. So they're out and about doing, out and about their day, and no one knows if they're positive or whatever. So it could be
Mhm.
spreading amongst them and the friends that they're with right now.
And see the cunning, baffling, and insidious and powerful nature of this virus is similar to alcoholism. You just don't know who got it, who's going to be addicted, who's going to become an alcoholic or not, and then you have that sense of being invincible. It's not going to happen to
Mhm.
me, and because
Right.
of and I say I contributed to having it because I was somewhat defiant, rebellious. It's not going to happen to me, and I can imagine what the teenagers think.
Right.
They're walking around with
Oh
no
yeah.
symptoms. I'm cool. I'm cool. They don't see anything. They
Mhm.
hear it. But people, some of us who have that inability to listen,
Mhm.
opposed to hearing,
Mhm.
and until it hits your home, until it hits your family,
It.
then and only then you get to empathize and see the severity of this thing. Because
Mhm.
me not being able to Oh my God, I'm getting ready to cry. Me not being able to hug my grandchildren, and y'all know I love my grandchildren, and to be separated from them. And my 2-year-old grandson that's in Jersey, his only symptom was a fever, and they had to
Mhm.
quarantine for 24 days. Right,
Wow.
but no one in his family caught it, but he had a fever, 2 years old. So we know that children, infants, seniors die from this thing, right?
Yeah, they do.
And it's just insidious,
It's
cunning,
very.
powerful, and it's nothing to play with. But until you experience, I don't know what it is about human nature. I don't know
We
what it
don't
is
take it
about human
seriously.
nature.
We don't take it
I don't know.
seriously.
And then some people do. Like Tracy, listen, Tracy is gung ho, ain't you, Tracy? Tracy, like, no, 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 I'm gonna do everything I can not to get
Yeah,
this.
Mhm.
absolutely.
So Tracy is one of the ones who listen.
Mhm. Well,
And
and I'll say I know what a difference a state makes because depending upon what state you're in, and my parents live in a whole different state than here, and the things that they're allowed to do and free flow and go, they're still eating in restaurants and the casinos are still open. That's a huge factor in how it's being spread. And for us here, Michigan was one of the states where, you know, uh, our governor Gretchen Whitmer, she shut everything down, the schools, work, everything. We even had a if you were caught on the street, you had to basically have a hall pass as to the
Hmm.
reason why you were out. She wanted no one out, and that was initially to make sure that we knew what we knew. But when they opened things back up and when school started, I live here with University of Michigan. Students are, I mean, they're germ carriers because they think they have S's on their chest and a
Hmm.
cape. And so they're out, but they also work at the grocery stores and they work at the pizza places, the places where you're getting takeout,
Hmm.
but there's that momentary exposure or you're touching something that they touched and you're bringing it home
Mhm,
Right. So
because
mhm,
they think,
what are your feelings about the vaccine, Darlene?
I am probably not popular, opinion, but I am going to get the vaccination. I probably will not get the one from Pfizer, which is right
Hmm.
here in my backyard. Um, Moderna is the one that I'll probably get just because I'm a little bit more confident in the the team that created it and some of the studies that I've read. But I am going to get it when it's available. I don't want that again. I don't want that for my children. Yes, I know there are some risks that are associated with that, but I don't
And,
care.
and the risk right now, I mean, what the risk right now with not having it, you know what I mean? I know there's a lot of people
It's
that
death.
don't
It's
take
death.
the flu pneumonia vaccine too, and they have, the risk for those. I've been getting the flu vaccine for years and I'm fine and nothing has happened. And I'm
Mhm.
with you on that, darling. I really am.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
but
because you can
it's
go
just like
out
the
and
flu. It's
yeah.
just like the flu. Every year the strain changes. So who's to say what I had in March is the same thing that's floating around now? It's morphing. Do we
mhm,
know? We don't. So in order to armor yourself up, as a Christian, you armor yourself up by,
mhm,
leaning into the word. Well, I'm going to armor myself up with, what the God gave me, which is someone educated enough to create this for our use and for our benefit. Yes, I'm going to get it.
Edwina, what's your thoughts on the vaccine?
Well, I have never taken a flu shot. As a matter of fact, nobody in my family has ever taken a flu shot in my immediate family, and I've never had the flu. And so, in talking with the doctor the other day, she said the vaccine only suppresses the symptoms. It doesn't cure it. You can still get infected. You can still be contagious. And so the small symptoms that I had, I would say I would take it because I know the potential of getting more severe symptoms, and
Hmm.
ultimately it can become fatal.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And because time has changed, technology has changed, and
Absolutely.
it's about listening and doing your own research,
Hmm.
and being and having faith. You know what I mean? Having faith, because
Absolutely.
with man,
Absolutely.
man is like, what? I got to believe in God, but I know that I wouldn't want to experience what others
Have experience.
have experienced and are experienced, going to experience, because it's going to get worse before it gets better. And
Absolutely.
so, when the time comes, I'm 65, so I'm a senior citizen, so I think I can get it soon.
Well,
But
I
I
want to
do.
ask you ladies one question before we get ready to get off here. I want to pay my respects to a dear friend of mine who actually passed from COVID-19. His funeral is at 11. I don't want to hold you long, but I want to know what comes to your mind when you see people out and about, when you're out and they don't have masks on, and people, and also the people that says that it's a hoax. What comes to mind?
For me, I was there by the grace of God. There go I. And I'm telling you, until I got it, I was lackadaisical too. And so I understand a little better because I know the severity of it. And I just have to pray, and I have to use common sense to stay away, use my sanitizer, walk away, create some distance. And sometimes I've even asked the person, don't you want to wear your mask? And then, so we know it's not a hoax. I know it's not a hoax because it happened to me. So
Hmm.
with those
Oh,
who
absolutely.
keep praying, and there by the grace of God, there go I.
Hmm.
Amen. And Darlene, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are be safe for not just you, for that other person. You don't know what someone else has as an underlying health condition.
Hmm.
And, no matter what popular opinion is saying, at some point, someone can get something. So when I'm in the grocery store and they have the little blue dots on the floor, I am making sure that I am distancing myself from someone else. And I have no problem speaking up and asking people to respect the dot and
Amen.
hold your distance. If you are in the store, and I know people get lax because even if I'm out, sometimes my mask will fall down and I'll put it back up and they don't always fit the way they're supposed to. Pick a mask that works for your face. Get the ones with the little adjustables on the ear. Try them out. Wash them. Make sure that you're doing your part. Everyone has to do their part. We should not have to have our government mandate us to be safe for ourselves or each other. This is not a game.
It's not. You're absolutely
It's
right.
not
And
a game.
it's not the fact that we're wearing masks just for GP.
Mhm.
I wear my mask because I love me and I love you. That's what we need
Mhm.
to do.
Absolutely.
That's what I wear my
Mhm.
mask for. I wear my
Mhm.
Absolutely.
mask and I socially distance and I adhere to the rules because
Mhm.
not only do I love myself, but I love you and I want you to be able to love your family and your family and your
Mhm.
family.
Mhm. Mhm.
I love
Yeah.
So
you enough to help you see tomorrow.
Yeah.
exactly. It's a love thing. You know what? And ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to hold them long here. I know they both have busy schedules. I know, Edwina, you have to get back to your darling loved ones. At the bottom of the screen, their Twitter information, their IG, their social media contacts, their phone numbers, emails, and if you want to get in contact with them to get more information, even ask questions in regarding their journey, feel free to do so. Ladies, I want to greet you with the best love and the best joy that you have ever
Thank you.
have and ever
Thank
can have.
you.
And
Thank
also
you.
during your Christmas holiday, I truly thank you for taking the time to talk about some of the and one thing before I leave, I want to talk about what are some of the positives because this is positive vibes. Share some
Mhm.
of the positives about what you've experienced and how you can go
Mhm.
out as
Mhm.
we end this broadcast. Darlene, I'll start with you.
You know, the positive that I can say is I appreciate me more. I appreciate my family more. I appreciate my neighbors more. I'm home more. I'm actually, enjoying the fruits of my labor, which is the energy that I'm putting into people, they're pouring it back. We might not be able to be in the same company, but I'm having phone conversations. Whereas before, I think people were texting and it
Mhm,
was a lot of the hands off. We're being
mhm,
creative and we're loving on each other in a different way, more old school, but we're
mhm.
bringing it back and I appreciate that.
Mhm.
We're playing board games. We are getting back to the basics of why we are who we are. So yeah, that is definitely for me, that has absolutely been a positive.
And
Mhm.
Edwina, what are the positives for you?
Yeah, the positive for me has been the ability to recognize and be present that I can breathe.
Breathe. Mhm.
I can breathe, I can smell, I can taste, I can feel. And so the most positive thing I've gotten out of this is to be present with self. When you're present with self, you can learn to be present with others, because my grandchildren and other children are watching me. So they hear what I say, but they hear what I say, but they do what they see. You
Mhm.
know, and so if anything, I've taken a new opportunity to encourage people to take an inventory of themselves, of
Mhm.
their attitudes, their ideas, behaviors, their decisions, their choice making, so that they too can be true to themselves in order to be true to others. Because if we just save one life,
That's
that's
enough.
one life saved from COVID-19.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Well, look, ladies, and I'll let you guys know what my positive is. My positive is I was able to meet some wonderful, beautiful people on in social media. I was able to, update and upgrade my website. I was able to put more work in regarding helping other people to be a part of this broadcast, and also share some love and just reach out to people all across the world. We've been real busy in our lives before this happened, so
Oh,
it has
absolutely.
allowed me to look at myself, to not only just love on myself, but to love on other people
Mhm.
who don't have the expertise and the education or the knowledge to do
Mhm.
platforms like this with the radio show. So I just want to thank God for
Yes,
allowing me to see another day. Thank God for allowing
yes,
me to see your beautiful faces. And ladies,
yes,
I want to greet you guys with a beautiful Christmas joys, and may the spirit of love continue to be amongst you, your families, your children, your children's children, and
hmm,
everyone you touch, and allow this show to turn to gold with you guys as you touch your children, hug upon them, and may the peace of God continue to ride out with you. And we know that He will never leave us nor forsake us. It's
yes,
been a great journey with you ladies for this half an hour. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to hear more, I friend them on Facebook, hit their social media, give them a call, and just see how they're doing. Just never know. And also, Edwina, we are praying for Helen. Helen, if you're
I
watching
have
this,
that.
we are praying that right now, at the sound of our voices, in agreement
yes,
that your lungs are opening up and those dots are being removed and your
hmm.
sons are well off, and that there will be a negative report coming very soon. So to God be
Thank
the
you,
glory.
thank
Thank
you.
you,
To
ladies,
God
for
be the glory.
To God be the glory.
positive vibes. Have a
All
great day,
right.
ladies, and enjoy your Friday.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
dear.
Thank
All right.
you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
God
Bye-bye.
bless. Bye bye.
God bless you.
I want to get off. That's okay.